Hello, fellow kind of critics. So let's start with Vice. Vice is a shotgun political dark comedy on the life and near deaths of Dick Cheney. Now granted, I never picked up a book about Cheney, nor did I watch a number of documentaries that have surfaced on his life, but after watching Vice, I was so compelled to learn more about the Republican punchline that has been a staple of the early 2000s that I think the film did a very good job of portraying this huge interest of an infamous figure. Now, movies on political figures, especially ones that tend to divide historians and critics alike, are not new. Complete bastardization or more cinematically appealing liberties to these figures are just something that prove to be more entertaining, but forcing ideologies or pandering to a certain viewpoint can be poorly executed and removes the point of what a biopic should be. Again, this is a tough argument to swallow, and there are things that people will like because of the point and information they provide. But that's what arguments are, and I think when I watch a movie to be entertained, but also question and learn more about a factual topic, it's a double win. But I think to digest 6 decades of Cheney's life on screen in a very sarcastic and hypocritical way was done pretty well by Adam McKay, even if all the parts don't fit together. This is largely in part of Christian Bale putting himself through extensive method acting that makes him portray a charming and sinister image of the real Dick Cheney. I think the dedication and writing was always on point with Bale's Cheney, and the makeup design is very sophisticated and real. The rest of the cast is hardly consistent, significantly, as Cheney is on screen for the whole 2 hours, give or take. But some highlight performances come from Amy Adams as Lynn Cheney, Sam Rockwell as George W. Bush, and Tyler Perry as Colin Powell. I think for someone who had not watched McKay's The Big Short, I like some of the editing and narrative choices done in Vice, and yet some of it feels very disjointed, especially when less time on certain events may have felt more concrete or give a balanced point of view to Cheney that would have been a hell of a lot more interesting. Cuts of stock footage in certain conversations and a scene where Cheney gets his face superimposed to Galactus felt superfluous, and felt like McKay wanted to dangle some keys to keep people awake or try to seem hip. Then there's a scene where game pieces are used to explain plans of political positioning that I found very enjoyable. Scenes that also felt pointless or at times pretentious also created this strange padding to the pacing of the story. This ranges from a Shakespearean-esque metaphor and some pot shots to the audience. If you're going to tell people how someone got in position of power through loopholes and fact sheets, only to point the finger at us, you kind of make a mess of things, McKay. But as many hits this movie does to Cheney, I think this is the best someone from the left side or right side can do to make them seem human. And I think more human elements and some kind of motivation would have structurally saved the film, especially since a lot of great performances and further intrigue tends to be cut short by these things. But as a movie that strokes my curiosity with some competent direction, I liked it more than I hated it, and I definitely want to know more. 5 stars out of 6. Holmes and Watson won the internet in the worst way possible, and I think, as far as verbal exaggeration goes, it's meh. Won't top Talladega Nights, Blades of Glory, Semi-Pro, Step Brothers, or Casa de Mi Padre, but what can I say, I have real taste sometimes. If anything, this is a really bad parody of Sherlock Holmes that had a lot of potential to be better and worse than what it is, but there's just so little of substance that makes it stand out as a comedy. But I will be the one to admit that there are at least 5 or 6 jokes where I legitimately laughed, and 10 or more where I just laughed at the stupid absurdity of its inception. If anything, this is a test tube baby clone of all those feral comedies, and I see how much of it feels lazily structured, as we get the classic best friends who break up, then apologize and finish the movie. There's a lot to make fun of with the character of Holmes, and the movie cherry picks pictures on the internet on those jokes and puts them on a script. The narrative tends to kill the pacing with a drinking scene, a scene where 2 men nearly kill the Queen of England, and other forms of slapstick humor, which is mostly hit or miss, depending on who's really laughing at it. I think as someone gets older and more cynical, they will find big-name comedy capers like Step Brothers stupidly irritating. But I think that a guilty pleasure with bad ideas is a whole lot better than a lazy one, and Holmes and Watson is the master at being this lazy one, which is a shame considering Judd Apatow was apparently set to direct this, and ashamed that McKay still stuck putting money on this shit. Ethan Coen, writer of everyone's second favorite Men in Black movie and writer of everyone's least favorite Madagascar film, Cohen has contributed 2 films that I only have several glimpses of fleeting memory from: Get Hard and now Holmes and Watson. 2 out of 6 stars. I'm sure you can wait to rent it.